two things here. So in general, one of the things that I think the podcast can do, because we do have an exposure to people that, yeah, we're not all experts in our field because we're not like mid 50s, mid 60s that garner that like respect or expert status. But how many people do you want to like learn from that are experts, right? Like what can you gain from a day to day? Like, oh, I know that Warren Buffett like checks the stock market every morning and he drinks like diet cherry Cokes. Like those are the things I know about Warren Buffett. Like, but I know that Zach runs a shit ton and like he's able to like figure out how to get the best out of people that work with him. So like, what do you think helps you do that? What are some of the key things that you think are important to how you kind of run teams? And like if you have anything that could give like give value to maybe someone that's just listening, trying to figure out how to be a better team member.
Yeah, I think, and this is it's a good segue from kind of the last segment of what we were talking about, is I feel like the personal connection is very important. And John, we've been kind of like around situations where it did work out very well on a personal level between teams, and we've also been in situations together where clearly teams like weren't meshing. And I think the most important thing is, one, being able to connect with individuals on your team on a personal level, being able to relate to them, whether it's sports or sports, obviously the easiest thing to come up from a guy to guy perspective, but just anything, definitely understanding kind of like where they're coming from, either from like what their background is. For me, my religious background is very important to me. It's something that I make sure that everyone knows and understands. It comes with some work limitations as well, having to like leave early on Friday for the Sabbath, and things like that. So I think being forthcoming, getting to know your teammates on a personal level and developing that personal connection, which I think is one of the things we're definitely missing right now from in this Zoom work from home environment. That's one big one. The second thing is finding each person's strengths. And I don't remember if we spoke about this on the last pod, so cut me off if we did, I guess John or Eric in this case. But one of the things that I thought made us just a pretty good team and a pretty efficient team is that, at least me, kind of like seeing things at like a mid-level senior in terms of what I wanted to get out of my staff, is that I wanted to play to their strengths in terms of seeing what they wanted to do, what they were good at, without putting them kind of in an uncomfortable environment, while making sure they still are achieving their own professional goals. So like, I'm in charge of making sure that the overall goal gets done in terms of the people that I'm mentoring. But so I have that goal on my plate, and then kind of overlaps and meshes with their personal goals, in that people that I'm mentoring, they have their own specific professional or work-related items that they need to get done. So by playing to their strengths and figuring out, what they're good at and what they want to, succeed at, it's a win-win. I help myself, achieve the goal by, getting people below me and people that I'm mentoring to, work on things that they're strong at, while developing them and making sure that they're pursuing and achieving their own professional goal.
Yeah, no, I love both of those things. I think that's pretty powerful in terms of making sure that you make those connections, because it's really not easy, one, and two, like it doesn't help. You would think it doesn't help your bottom line, right? You would think that figuring out what someone wants, and like even just like you told me, like, I want you to think about what you want out of this engagement. I want you to like actually take the time to figure out what things you want to learn and hear, so that I can direct you in those situations and put you in some deep water sometimes. But like, if you don't swim, I'm here for you. But if you do, then like now you've got this like shining star that you can like put on your resume, that like, I did this and I know this front to back. So I think that's really good to remember. And then I think it's a lot harder in this work from home environment to figure out those strengths and those weaknesses. I think that you're a lot less able to isolate what's the reason some work isn't getting done when you're working from home and you only get to see when you're sharing screens with them or something like that. Like that's why I'm always like, hey, there's an Excel hotkey here that you can do better, or like there's a way that you can do this more efficiently in terms of like Excel. But like I can't tell you, oh, you're asking questions too early, or you're asking questions too late, or you're not aggregating questions, because I don't know what's going through your head on a daily basis. Um, but yeah, I think that was great. Eric, did you have any takeaways from that?
Yeah, I mean, coming from someone who like hasn't really been like teaching someone for like very long and like is definitely trying to look for different ways to like try and help someone that's like under me, I definitely appreciate that and take that into very high thought, because like I know how tough it can be for like some I know how tough it can be on the other side of like someone like trying to train you and like teach you, and like I don't know what this kid's strengths are, I don't know what his weaknesses are, like, and like I guess let me just throw some stuff at him and see what he's good at, see what he likes. But like to actually like, because I know people who have taught me like have gone into like kind of a similar way of like, all right, like I know you're good at this and I know you're not good at this, so like let me help you out more with this so you can learn it, and let me just let you do that on your own, because I know you can pick it up and run with it, and then you'll figure out how to do it your own way. So
Right. And it's like an endless cycle, right? When you don't have enough people, or like you don't have enough time to do that, or other obligations that you feel are more important. Like when you spend the time, you can see the dividends pretty quickly. But if you don't spend the time, you'll like not know why things aren't working as well for an extended period of time. But then again, you also have to realize that sometimes even putting in all that effort, Zach, and I know you've done this with me before, is like sometimes you put in all the effort and you take the time and you try to figure out who this mentee is and what their strengths and weaknesses are, and then you just realize like, okay, they just don't have it. Like they don't like figuring out they don't have it and being okay with letting them go, and like letting them either find another person to that might be able to resonate with them better, or uh, just telling, or just being honest with them and saying like, I don't know how, I'm unable to get through to you and help you the way I feel like you need help. How have
Yeah.
you been able to do that? Like, because because me, I haven't, I can be less effective in that realm, or too idealistic.
Yeah, I think the way that you have to go into that is at baseline, you have to go in saying, like, I got to make this effort to see if it works. Because if it works, it's beneficial to me, right? If it doesn't work, then I know where this is affecting me. Because I don't think there's a middle ground, right? You can have like average people that, work for you and produce average work, but there's no like, it doesn't feel that way in terms of like your investment in them in terms for from a mentorship perspective, or from it making your life easier. Like if they're average, it's still going to be detrimental to you. So I feel like it's either they're good and your investment in them from a personal and professional level was worth it, or it wasn't worth it. I feel like there's very little room for middle ground there, even if they produce average work product. Because if they produce average work product, you're still going to be like, well, I invested a lot into you. Why aren't you producing good to great work product? So I think once you go in knowing that it's either going to be good or bad, and that you're able to cut cut it away when it's bad, um, then at least you have a direction in terms of how you're going to mentor people. Um, in terms of like, well, how do you feel? How do you cut away? Like the how part of it, that's obviously more difficult, and I struggle with that. And I'm not in a position right now where I have too many people under me where I feel like I could cut anyone away. But
Right.
that part is, I feel like it's a case by case basis. I don't think there's a one right way to be able to like let go and be able to be like, you know what, I just can't invest in this individual. I don't know if I have any specific answers. I don't know if Eric, you had any thoughts about that, but to me, I don't know if there's like a cookie cutter way to do that.
yeah, I mean, I like John would probably struggle very much to have to do something like that. So like I'm lucky right now. I'm currently in the position that I don't really have to, but I know like down the line a little bit, like there will be moments where I have to do that. So like But I can definitely understand that's a little different, like in each scenario, and like I don't know, it's definitely tough though. I can't imagine having to like really, at least right now, I'd like I'd panic if I had to do
Because
that.
I think the one big thing is like, where do you cut off your investment in this individual, and when do you begin the separation?
Right.
Like, at when do you realize that you're at that point? And John, you and I had a lot of conversations about that, just in terms of, well, we need to get this done. Like, at what point do I just take it on by myself, and my life's going to suck because I have more work to do, but it's more beneficial for the team and for the project? Or like, do I keep on pouring myself into like investing because maybe there's some know prize down the line of me pouring in more effort into this individual and then seeing some results later on? That's such a fine line. I'm not sure there's a real answer for that. I feel you just got to feel it out.
Yeah, and like that can be a theme that like I keep going back to the more and more people that we talk to and trying to figure out like those kind of things. But I do agree that that mentorship is hard, and the investment that you put in, you won't always get out. But the ones that you do get a positive return from, like they can come from totally different things, right? Like you you invested your time in me to try to like make me a better auditor, and now we're on a podcast 2.5 years later for the second time, just enjoying it and shooting the shit, right? Like that's the thing that you don't realize is that like your investment in someone else can generate a return that might not even be associated with the work that you do.
Yeah.
um
And I think that kind of goes back to what I was, like two answers to this, and that like the way that you try to get the best out of somebody is, on the one hand, getting to know them from a personal level, and really getting to know them on a personal level, and then also on a more professional work environment, and it's like playing to their strengths. Like, really getting to know people on a personal level, it's like when it becomes like a mentorship, sometimes it ends up in like a friendship. And more times than not, like, that's very good. Like, it's not like, even if it's someone who's working kind of beneath you, for lack of better terms, like, it's definitely beneficial if it ends up in friendship. So